But with Afghanistan, it seems to me that there isn't an upside. The 2020 Trump deal with the Taliban, not with the then Afghan government, but their sworn enemies, kicked in. As Allied troops withdrew, it proved to be a noisy starting gun for the Taliban to sweep across Afghanistan in a matter of days, seizing the capital and putting 2 decades of progress in jeopardy, not least the rights of women to be women and young girls to be educated. A virtual G7, the 7 biggest economies in the world, failed to persuade the United States to extend the grace period for evacuating those in danger. Our people, their people, and the Afghans who've risked everything to help us these last 20 years. Boris Johnson looked shamed and embarrassed. Former senior military types were brutally critical. MPs across the spectrum were angry, not least MPs on his own side. An operation reminiscent of the Berlin airlift swung into action. But even those huge transport planes have their limitations. An around-the-clock airlift has impressed, but as it draws to a close, it seems that over 1,000 of our former friends, at least, will be left behind, and perhaps more than 100 Brits. They're now awaiting the worst. But behind these sensational pictures, some deeper truths have emerged, have they not? Joe Biden's embraced his sworn enemy Donald Trump's America First mantra. In trade, it's tricky, but in foreign policy, it is potentially fatal. As China told Taiwan, be afraid. When conflict comes, America won't. Biden made NATO, or significant parts of it, look impotent. Here, the special relationship looked especially pathetic. And in the last 48 hours, the Taliban's Afghan enemies, ISIS-K, struck at the airport. Well, America this morning and overnight says it's taken out a top leader, but the fighters remain. Civil war unfolds in Afghanistan. The US looks the other way. We have a more destabilised world than ever. Allies suspicious of each other, great democracies impotent before a US president determined to put his country first. That fresh civil war in Afghanistan, but more importantly, the return of a training ground and plotting place for the world's worst terrorists. Now, after the Second World War came the Cold War between communism and free markets, autocracy and democracy. Democracy won in Berlin in 1989. Then came the Gulf War shortly after that, with the United States and her allies putting Saddam Hussein in his place. And of course, in 2001, on 9/11, the World Trade Center towers fell to terror attacks from the sky. And we learnt what the new world conflict was. Democracy against terrorism and jihad. The old Soviet Union had wanted its slice of the world and to support communism where it emerged. Saddam wanted oil and regional influence. Jihadis want jihad, an open-ended war against the infidels. And that's us, unless you're a Muslim. That's the new challenge. With Biden's America in effect ducking out, safe from coast to coast, where does it leave the rest of us? That is our big question today.